So a good night for Trump in New York. Very simply, he has to get over 50% statewide. If he falls below that, I would characterize it as falling below expectations. We have him generally getting, in the mid-80s in terms of the delegate count, not getting over 50% of the number of districts.
80s out of how many?
80s out of 95. I'm
Thank
sorry. I
that.
think that everybody has been following New York who's watching this, but maybe not. Maybe we have new
There are some people
viewers
who have normal lives.
Excuse me, I'm very
Or even
normal.
abnormal lives, right? You have to be pretty darn abnormal to know exactly how many delegates New York has.
Well, we're a pretty damn abnormal crew.
1%.
We are
1% of the 1%.
So in any event, the point being that Trump basically wants to win the vast majority of delegates tonight. But even if he does that, he still will not be on the pace to get the 1,237 delegates, at least with pledged delegates he'd need unpledged. But it's a necessity in order to have any real shot down the line to have a good night in New York.
Well, Hillary Clinton's polling right now pretty well above Bernie Sanders. So I think just getting, hitting the marks where she is in the polls right now and sort of keeping the momentum going and saying, I hate to, not to use the M word in present company, but just sort of nipping in the bud all this talk of Bernie's closing the gap. Could Bernie win New York? He spent a lot of money here. So she's just has to sort of, prove her strength in New York.
And I think that Clinton's winning the delegate math war, but has had a real problem in the PR war, and being able to win by, say, double digits would certainly help her on the PR front.
And the flip side is, we've had a lot of recent contests where it seemed like either the polls are going to hit on the mark or they'll be a little bit more Sanders in the actual voting, right? Here you can see it going either way because of how hard it is to vote in New York if you haven't been registered as a Democrat for a long time.
The rules favor people who are more sort of party regulars or maybe older people who have been in this for a long time and have felt like they have a stake in the game, which tend to be more Clinton voters.
Right. The strong Democrats tend to be Clinton voters.
Clinton and Trump romp to victory, regaining momentum in critical contests.
We are loving the romp lately. The romp in headline. Rout? They rout?
Rout. Yeah.
I think it'll be rout or romp. Something along those lines.
I don't do New York Times headlines. I'm fairly sure the Daily News will call New York Republicans clowns, or the clown wins, or it's a clown car, clown makeup, and they'll probably mention Clinton at some point, but they won't use the word clown.
Hometown boy and girl make good.
That sounds more like maybe a Post headline to me.
I'd say Bernie Sanders has more riding just because if the polls are really wrong, a la Michigan, and he actually polls ahead or really close to Hillary Clinton, that's a big deal. Whereas Cruz, I think, is playing more of steady small ball picking off delegates, and that's kind of his game nowadays.
Let me flip that a little bit. If Bernie Sanders has a bad night, then the race is probably over. I mean, I think the race is arguably over.
He'll stay in, but...
Well, you would think. But if he loses by 17 points or something, then it goes from we need the best case scenario to a pipe dream to a shade beyond a pipe dream, especially because a week from today, 5 states vote that are all demographically similar. And so if Sanders loses New York by 17 points, you know what? He's probably going to lose Pennsylvania,
the Acela corridor,
Maryland, and so forth also.
Yeah.
So these next 8 days could effectively end the Democratic contest.